Like,
Like,
share,
and
subscribe
subscribe
to
to this channel.
Venky's channel.
We managed
Did
to
it
do it. We
work?
managed to do it.
Yeah.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Chat with Venky. Today we have one amazing band from Vadodara, Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad.
Just
Ahmedabad.
They're all from Ahmedabad.
I always keep on forgetting, like all this music I've been hearing from Baroda, thanks to Dunahut and Flood of Mutiny and Mark Speed. So my whole playlist is filled with bands from Baroda, and it's so welcome, guys. So let me
Baroda
introduce.
cannot co-opt us.
So we have Pratyay, the lead vocalist. We have Meera Desai,
The vocals.
and the lead vocalist. We have Rag Sethi, the bass guitarist.
Yeah,
And
bass
we
is
have-
produced.
And we have Chirag, the prodigal student chosen by the name Chirag. So welcome, guys. So let me, to make it clear, this is a take 2, thanks to the internet mess up that we had the last week. And but the interesting question that I still face today also, when I again looked up for some points to discuss on this podcast, was why did you name your band Heat Sink? Pratyay, you have answered that last time, so I want to give that chance to Chirag probably. Chirag, why was the band name Heat Sink?
Should I give the?
One point. Let me make it a bit
Yeah.
difficult. I want, like, you guys are from Ahmedabad. You have to answer it in Gujarati.
Oh,
But
Chirag
we're
in
not
Gujarati.
Gujarati.
What happened?
Chirag
Yeah.
and I are out there for that conversation.
Only
Yeah.
I'm Gujarati in the entire band.
No,
It's a-
Prithul
yeah.
and I are
Oh, sorry.
In this conversation.
In this
okay.
Yeah.
conversation.
Just the
No,
only
yeah,
Gujarati.
Prithul and Nayan.
yeah. I
My
think
fellow Gujus are not here.
so. Then I think Veera should answer that question.
Okay, Meera.
No!
You dug yourself a grave there, Meera.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of
No,
that.
no.
This is the question and the challenge remains
I-
constant. You have to answer in Guju now.
Yeah.
My Guju sucks though. It actually does.
It's
I'll answer one part in it.
But that's what I'm expecting. Give me
અમદાવાદમાં
content.
બહુ ગરમી હોય. અમદાવાદ અમારું નામ હીટ સિંહ કેવી રીતે પાડ્યું? કારણ કે એક પોઈન્ટ છે કે અમદાવાદમાં બહુ જ ગરમી હોય છે હંમેશા. અને સેકન્ડ પોઈન્ટ છે જે પોતે
BG
explain કરશે.
BG point is just like
No. The buck doesn't get passed on to me.
Come on, Meera. Come on. You can do it.
Finish this.
Ah.
Finish what you started.
In Gujarati?
Yes, yes.
ઓકે તો ત્યાંથી અમે વિચાર કરતા હતા કે બેન્ડ નેમ કેવી રીતે બેન્ડ નેમ શું હોઈ શકે અમારું. તો અમારું એક વિચાર હતો કે કંઈક ગરમીનું આમ અમદાવાદમાં ગરમી છે એટલે પછી ત્યાંથી અમે વિચાર કર્યું કે હીટ સિંક અને એમાંથી પોતે એક એન્જિનિયર છે એટલે અમને થયું કે એને થોડુંક ટોર્ચર કરવા માટે બેન્ડ નેમ હીટ
no,
સિંક
we
પાડ્યું.
named the band only to annoy Pratyay. That's absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I give up now.
It's superb. To just put in context for everyone, what she explained is the Ahmedabad is always hot. This is my test whether I understood it properly. The first reason was Ahmedabad is always hot. That is one. And second, what did you say second? I forgot.
So what I couldn't say in Gujarati was that Ahmedabad is always hot and heat sink kind of removes the heat from the situation, right? And we thought that our music kind of does that, or we hope that our music does that. It's kind of like it has
how from Gujarati her
aggression and power and stuff, but it's
accent
not
comes
like.
in.
Well, I grew up in the US, so that accent is. I only came here like 3 years ago, so I grew up in the US, so I just have an accent, so it's just something I have to live with.
That's a good
But yeah,
thing to live with.
that's the part I couldn't describe in Gujarati.
Debatable, honestly.
What happened?
Like that's one thing you can live with. That's a good thing to live with.
Sure.
Rag left it,
Sure.
but coming back, I I got to know about some interesting stories, especially the experimental Chirag. Chirag, I heard you love alcohol a lot and you always take a big gulp before going onto stage.
No, that's not true.
I came to know about a specific gig where you killed it just because you had like a nice drink.
Yeah, I don't recall that.
Of course we don't.
Yeah, probably I was too drunk to recall. So that's also an option. Yeah.
Okay, I would
But,
like to interject and say
yeah, I
that
think-
Chirag
but I
always
think-
kills it. Chirag always
Not
kills
because-
it. It was just that time we were afraid he wouldn't because of the alcohol. But then he did it despite the alcohol. So just to clarify,
Oh wow.
the alcohol is not the reason
Yeah.
he plays well, because that would be illegal in Gujarat and we are very good boys about it.
And that's one of the reasons why we do more gigs outside Gujarat than in Gujarat. Yeah.
Yeah, but the alcohol is available, right? If you know how to get it.
We don't know anything about that.
Oh wow, we got a
No,
whole
we
bunch
have
of
to-
nice people. They don't know nothing about alcohol. And someone who's coming from US, of course, it's a dry country altogether, right?
And Rag is Punjabi, so
Hey, Harish, shit, I should have gone for Rag to explain in Punjabi. That would have been more fun. Why the band was called
Honestly.
NSYNC.
Oh yeah, that would have been the next Punjabi hit song would come out of what I would say for sure. That's how bad my Punjabi is.
So coming
honestly,
back.
you need like one phrase to make a hit song anyways.
Exactly.
But in what year did you band form?
2018.
2018, yeah. It's been about 2 years.
Damn man, your growth as a band is exponential compared to what indie bands have been going through.
I mean, we've been playing with each other in some or the other capacity for quite some time, but as this band, as this identity, it's been about 2.5 years. But again, like seen in like cities like Ahmedabad or Baroda, it's very small. So everybody plays with everybody else at some point, doing a gig band or some other, either commercial or something else. But yeah, as this band, as this identity or whatever has been around 2.5 years, I guess now.
A listener, an audience perspective, like I love all your originals, of course, but I'm a diehard MJ fan. The best song that you have put is the Billie Jean cover. I absolutely love it,
you.
man. Like that's like one of the best Billie Jean covers I've heard in a long time. Because people
Thank you
end
so
up trying to mimic MJ and they end up doing it badly. But there was something different about what you guys did.
Yeah.
I'm unable to pinpoint what you
Because
guys did.
I'm wise enough to know you cannot imitate MJ.
Yes. Like, but
You don't even try.
like you guys have released 4 tracks, proper audio tracks, like Dark Light, I'm Lost, Impulse, and Time Lapse.
Part of the EP, yeah.
Which one is your favorite?
I think everybody has different ones.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah,
looking
everybody
for.
is.
So let's start with Rag. Rag, which one's your favorite
Yeah.
song?
I do like Dark Light.
Okay.
I think that's probably my favorite. Either that or Impulse or Time Lapse. Oh
Why?
no, there's all of them.
All of them.
You have to
I think-
choose one. You have to choose one. You
I
have to
think-
choose one.
I think Time Lapse would be my favorite then.
Why?
I think it's got the most interesting things happening in it out of all the 4 songs.
Okay. And so let's stick with Mira.
Yeah, mine is also between Impulse and Time Lapse, but Time Lapse because I get to do a lot of cool like vocal acrobatics in that, which like you don't usually get to do. It's just like fun for me as a singer to sing that song, and I just like feel like I get to be this new kind of person.
What about Chirag?
I like it.
I mean, yeah, as a listener, I like Time Lapse more. But as a performer, I like Dark Light. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, just when
Yeah.
you are touched on performer, I love your solos, man. And being a
Oh,
guitarist,
thanks a lot.
I look for other guitarists. Whenever I hear a band, okay, what is this guy doing? oh, he used that. Oh, he played that way. So it's always a guitarist to guitarist thing, and I absolutely love your solos, man.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So you plan to go for this like, I don't know if it's flashy or it's controlled. There's something different on what you do. I like the choice of notes you use.
Yeah, I think like a lot of my solos are like kind of. Actually, I don't have an explanation to that. Yeah, it's probably just sounding
feel
good.
that. No, I think
What?
Chirag does have a good sense of note selection.
Yeah.
It's like that's what when he brings a new solo to us as an idea, more about than like super fast sweeping or such a flashy techniques. I think he pays attention to the note selection and how it works with the harmony and what feeling every individual note or phrase evokes. So I think that's what I've felt about Chirag's soloing so far. So if I may explain it for you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
definitely
probably
phrasing wise, I see, because like Chirag usually brings us like guitar, like, you know, different phrases to sing, and that's like, if they weren't singable, then we wouldn't have songs, you know. So like
True.
every single one of his phrases is unique, and you can like form like this huge kind of idea just from one or two of the phrases.
Yeah, like honestly, like all the vocal melodies like that I come up with, it's similar to how I solo usually, and like everything is derived from the phrases that I use while soloing. If you break down all the vocal melodies, it's pretty much the same thing that I use to solo. So yeah, that's probably why.
But this, okay, before we go to the next question that I'm getting now, Pratyay, what's your favorite song?
Again, like Chirag said, as a listener, maybe time lapse because of there's a lot of interesting stuff and it's groovy and fun. But on stage, definitely Darklight for me because I get to like scream, and it's like the whole heavy prog rock thing happening in there, which is like my zone. And on stage, I get to do this whole thing where I put my foot up on the monitor and sing like really high for that one note, and that's fun. So I'm gonna choose that.
So the question that I had was, like you said, based on phrasing your solos, like as a musician myself, when I set on to say compose, even on guitar, the tune comes in my head first, then it comes to my hands or fingers. Like that, the process is that way. So when you guys sit and compose a song, is it you play with an idea, or you just shoot an arrow in the dark and then wherever it hits, then you grow on that? How do you go with it? What's your composition process?
Yeah, so usually it depends. Like sometimes, like for example, sometimes when Meera and I sit down to compose, like the bit of the song, like Meera has a different approach because since she's a singer, for her it's natural like to come up with melodies directly by singing them out. For me, more comes out naturally by playing it on guitar. I don't sing and come up with melodies in the first go. So like, yeah, I think as a guitarist, like a lot of my melodies are guitar-based melodies, and for Meera, it's normal vocal-based. And I think because of that combination, because like of that blend, it ends up sounding good as a vocal melody because it's neither too technical or neither too I don't know, simple. I guess so. It's a good, nice blend that way. Speaking in terms of melodies, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as a band, I think, maybe like Rag can like talk more about the arrangement and all of that. How we come up with.
Yeah, I mean it's always an interesting process because like Chirag typically has like the structure of the song, the bass, the melody, and the feel of the song ready. Then Pritul and I kind of help create the driving force for the song. How groovy do we want it? Where do we want to lock? Where do we not want to lock? So from a production standpoint, just like working with these songs and gluing it all together with all the layers that sort of I'm thinking also what works with the keys over it, what kind of key solo would work, So it's a lot of fun working with those compositions because there's so much room for experimentation. I think naturally the kind of songs that sort of Chirag comes up with and that we sort of sit with together as Heatsink have a lot of scope to go into like a lot of different paths, which is why our first EP actually highlights the plethora of parts that we can take, because each of those 4 songs sound very, very different from one another. And that was a conscious effort that we made also, because to show that we like jazz, we like prog, we like rock, we like neo soul, and we wanted the music to reflect that. So instead of having one song that has all of the elements, it's kind of, we have different songs to represent those parts that we personally like.
Fair enough. Wow, man. Like, but this raises a serious question on like a audience perspective also. How do you move from say a genre like now you're playing something, say on a jazz perspective, where the chords and the change in chords are also gentle but very impactful. The chord might change; it will not be that striking, because say if you move from a major 7 to minor major 7, the chords lie. There's a change, but it will not be that obvious to say a non-jazz listener. But from there to getting into such a heavy vibe into progressive rock also, how do you?
Yeah, I understand. So like usually, actually, so my writing process is pretty much like same no matter what genre it is. Like I usually like how the way I write melodies and chords, like the approach is pretty much the same. It's just that I think because of the kind of the like the kind of chords I'm using for that particular song or the groove that I'm using, I think that's what defines the genre. And then we try to like build more on that style, and like even like then we add like other layers and stuff based on that style, like based on the direction of the melody and stuff. So I think, but my approach is pretty much the same. Like I don't keep in mind what genre while I'm composing. It just comes out naturally, and whatever comes out, based on that, we build on it and expand in that genre. So yeah, like I really don't have an explanation to that. It's my process is pretty much the same for whatever songs that
I think we all adapt what we are playing or how we're playing according to how we hear a song in our head while it is developing. So, if for example, if when we were composing some sort of say like Dark Light, so it has these chords which are like held for quite some time, and there's space between each change, and it's in this space, in this tempo, which allows you to stretch some things out. So in our heads already, I think it was developing to be impactful, like kind of not super fast or peppy, but impactful with each change. So according to that, that's how I would shape my vocal delivery to that, to see if a little more aggressive throw would fit here. But if it's a song like Impulse or Time Lapse, where it's more upbeat, but it, like you said, more gentle, then we have to adjust all of our deliveries, all of our styles of playing according to what it's building. So it's not like we start off with a genre in our head, like this is going to be a progressive rock song, this is going to be a jazz song. It's just how it develops and how we all hear it in our heads. And thankfully, for most of the time, we are more or less on the same page as to what a song should sound like. So I think that's how it develops for us, and that's how we get different. We start from the same point but get different places with each song.
And a lot of it actually happens in the studio itself. Like when we're tracking, during that point, I mean, even from the engineering aspect, like how are we miking up the drums, how are we miking up the guitars and the violins and stuff, that automatically gives us a lot of direction in terms of what is the overall sound going to sound like. And even as far as the phrasing is concerned, a lot of the final decisions are actually made for what happens when we're actually in the studio. The final solo will be figured out. So we'll come with ideas of what will happen, but when we're in the studio, we're spending hours in the studio, that's the time in which we're like, hey, what about this? What about that? Let's try this, let's try that. So I think that process helps us a lot as well.
This raises another question for me. Like on a track, like I go to a lot of gigs, and when I've heard the bands also, what I hear from a track and what I hear them live, of course the thing is different, but there is a severe difference in energy level. Like some bands are super good live, they're damn good energy, but on tracking they sound dull. But on the other hand, some bands are the tracks are amazing, but when you see them live, there's a difference.
Yeah.
So how do you manage these?
you know, like from
What do you feel about this?
Yeah, what do you think?
Like
Did you
I've heard only tracks. I've not heard you guys live, so I am losing that one half now.
I think it was right from the start when we were sort of in the production stage and getting the soundtrack. It was very important for us to be able to play everything that you hear live. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of bands, and there are to be fair, a lot of tracks, whether and regardless of the genre of music you choose, have so many production layers on them that they kind of have to perform it with a trigger or with sort of a backing track playing on top of it. I mean, it's natural that they have to do it. We've never done that. We've never performed live with a backing track. We've never performed live with a synth trigger to play all those parts in between. Because for us, it was very important that everything that you hear on our EP, you'll hear that same sort of performance. So I was just saying that when you do hear us live, hopefully that will come across that, you know, we're not very too heavy on filling up our projects with so many tracks that we can't replicate that live.
But that is one thing a lot of musicians do currently, which in a way it's good that they are able to express the sound that how they want it to be sound like, but it kills the point when they are performing live. Then it sounds very robotic. Okay, nahi, abhi bajana hai, iske baad ye aana chahiye. And then even if it's going on a very high, they're just taking it somewhere, but you have to play on a click for a track, following the track, so you can't follow that. Sorry,
I think it's a personal decision also for bands. But I guess our live shows are also quite improv based, and so our songs aren't set in stone. So, and we kind of adapt our set and the performance itself to the venue, to the crowd. So if you're playing in a place like the Piano Man in Delhi, where it's like a very musician friendly venue and people come to see like music being played by skilled musicians and they like seeing instrumental sections and stuff like that. So we'll just, extend our solos 4 times on stage like that. So it wouldn't be possible if we stuck to a click track and we have to do like exact 8 bars of solo and then khatam. So it's like we read the vibe of the room and adjust according to that. I think that's just what works for us as a band and for our music. And no disrespect to people who are super on click, and that's also a skill that you need to develop. But I don't think that's just our music. That's just what we do.
I think we rely a lot on those slight changes that happen in the tempo of our songs, because that's what makes the compositions that Heatsink has very musical. I mean, if we stuck exactly to a click track or a metronome for Impulse, for example, it's not going to sound like a jazz song, True. So a little bit of movement here and there, we don't take it as a disadvantage. We take it as a musical attribute that we add to our sort of music.
How, just adding to that improvisation point, how often have you improvised a song and taken it to somewhere else on stage during a performance?
I mean, almost all of our solo sections are pretty much improvised. I mean, there might be some ideas which remain, like some core ideas, but then everything in between is almost always improvised amongst all of us. So
we'll have each other during solos to figure out these endings. So that's what we do. I mean, he's right. We don't have a set, like especially for what's the song Judgment. We have a song called Judgment that's coming out. It's our next single. When we play that live, though, there's like a Jugalbandi section that happens between Pratyay and Chirag, and the rest of us are just holding it till we know that they're done.
Yeah,
that is not for Judgment, Rag. That is for Wait a Sec.
Oh, sorry, Wait a Sec. Not Judgment.
He's still learning the song names.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, but this brings up a good point.
Wait a Sec.
This brings up a good point because we always, sorry to interrupt, but we always kind of, all of us are involved in so many different projects also, and we don't always get to meet like on a weekly basis. So every time we do meet, we have this nice kind of, like we have the memory of the song, but we also have room where we've kind of forgotten exactly what we've done in a good way, So we kind of bring new things every single time we meet and rehearse and play. So that also I think adds to it, like not getting boring for us and not getting boring for the audience.
That's right. Yeah.
But this raises a question for me, like on a jamming perspective. Now, of course, you have released 4, but I'm sure you would have more than 4 songs which you have jammed and practiced. How do you choose these? Okay, this is good. Maybe we need to improve a bit more, or maybe drop a particular song and not go with this for performance or releasing them. How do you choose the songs?
I think depending on the venue, and the crowd. That's one of the factors. So if it's like a festival audience and the crowd, so then we put in our heavier numbers or even covers so that we can be comfortable with it. If it's like a more low-key event or something where heavy stuff won't work, so then we just filter that out. But even within songs, I think we keep adding new parts or changing some parts. Rag might come up with a new groove, and then Rag and Pritul have been practicing for something else. Then they find that this kind of fits in this song. So we just add that and go along with that. So it's not a huge thing for us to be anxious about maintaining exactly what we had, say, when we played the song 2 months ago. So the songs keep growing within themselves too, I guess. So
now I'm interested to watch you guys live. Every time I watch you guys live, okay, there might be a new song coming up. Okay.
Also, we
are interested in seeing ourselves live at this point.
Yeah.
We choose songs for our live set also depending on how confident we are with those songs too. Because sometimes we'll have a new sketch, a new song, but it's not fleshed out enough so that we can go and perform it. So we'll relegate that for like another show. We'll be like, okay, we're clearly not ready for that. Let's just focus on those ones. So confidence in that particular song structure is also very, very important.
True. But this, okay, let me add a question to individual questions. You have to answer individually. Which is the best gig you have performed live?
Who's starting?
Rag.
Piano Man probably is, I think, our best gig was probably the Piano Man.
Why was your favorite gig?
I think we had the right sound, we had the right energy, and I think very important.
Every band's dream to have the right sound.
Yeah. But the writer thing that the sound was the audience, and I think for us that really worked well because Pratyay is a very, very strong frontman for any of our shows, and like he's constantly engaging with the audience, he's telling jokes and stuff like that, and we've played a couple of shows in which that didn't really work, but he's trying really hard to connect to them and make them laugh. But Piano Man, everybody was on, like every joke they loved, they were laughing along, they were clapping along. So I think that Piano Man was really special because of that audience to sound interaction, I think.
So was it your also favorite gig, Pratyay? Piano Man?
I mean, yes, definitely one of my favorites because of the reasons you mentioned. I also am quite fond of the last gig that we played, which was Zomaland Festival back in February in Ahmedabad itself. So it's like we usually don't get to play a lot of gigs in Ahmedabad because there's just not enough gigs happening. But we got that festival and there was quite a sizable crowd. And before we came on, everybody was kind of just chilling on the lawns, half paying attention or not, maybe kind of thing. So we were a little skeptical of whether this would go well or not because don't know, it might not be an audience for this kind of music and everything. But then I went on stage and then we called everybody up front. Thankfully, they all came up front. And then the show just took off from there. Wow. There was just insane energy and we had a huge stage. And for once I had like a wireless mic. I was just running around the entire stage, running and jumping around the entire time.
Yeah.
And yes, and I think it was fun for all of us. There was a lot of energy in the crowd. People were really shouting, screaming along. Most of my jokes also worked, I guess, on that occasion. So yeah, that's another show that I remember quite fondly. But
stage
of course, Piano Man. I didn't stage dive, no, because I'm not confident enough that people will want to hold me for that. Not exactly the lightest there. But other than that, I think that was a good show. So yeah, just to differ from a usual answer of Piano Man, I'm going to say Zomaland.
What about Meera?
Yeah.
I guess I have like two favorite gigs, both of which are super different. One was the Zomaland gig because it was the first time I personally felt like very completely kind of free on this big stage, which usually you have this big stage and there's like this kind of pressure and stuff. But this was like it was just a different level, different vibe, and watching Pratyay do all that stuff was just really fun for me. So seeing him go into his element, because usually we play on like smaller stages, but it was really fun. And and I had this like song where I could kind of just be a little free and just do whatever I want. So that was cool. The other gig I really liked was weirdly So Far Pune. because it was an acoustic gig, completely acoustic. So Prote, Chirag, and I, it was just the three of us. But I don't know, something just about that small crowd and like the crowd to us connection. Like it was really nice, and they like even with the solos, even with like non-vocal solos, not like without words, the solos that we had, they were like reacting and kind of like we were like moving together. It was cool and intuitive, and I really liked it. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
For me, it's also the same. Like it's Piano Man and Zoma Land, both. So I remember, I think like Piano Man was like one of the first gigs outside Ahmedabad. My first ever gig outside Ahmedabad, and like Zoma Land was our last gig. Yeah, like before the pandemic. So, and I think it was a cool thing to like start off and end with like two of our best gigs, and. And as they explained, the main reason behind both the gigs were the audience. Like it all was because of the audience, like the energy and the response and everything. That was the main reason why both the gigs were the best for me. Yeah.
But like this is the question. You do all this being a frontman, of course, you're the face. You engage with the crowd. Have someone heckled you? Have you met a heckler?
Not really, not in a bad way. At least there might be people. I've had like friends in the crowd shouting something, maybe a song suggestion, but not really like a bad sort of heckling that would put us down or anything. Mostly crowds have been pretty receptive to the things. There have been times where I've done like a more controversial joke and there's just this awkward silence.
Like which one? I want to know this now.
Okay, so whenever we do Billie Jean, right? So I like to do some a Michael Jackson joke, and we did the Zoma Land. Again, there was a bit of a controversial silence there. So, so what we do, before the song, what I do to warm up the crowd is I make everybody chant "hee hee," which is like the Michael Jackson thing, right? So so we go like, hey guys, come on, I want you to repeat after me, hee hee. Everybody goes hee hee. I'm like, okay, louder now, one time, like, hee hee. Like, hee hee. Then we do that 3 times, and then I told them, so you know what legend has it that if you go and say hee hee aloud 3 times, the ghost of Michael Jackson himself comes to bless you and hopefully not touch your children. So I just
NANI? お前はもう死んでいる。
I just added that little thingy, and everybody was like, "How?" That's how that
Bloody Michael Jackson.
But mostly, I think Prote like heckles himself. Like he like shits on himself a lot as part of his jokes, so no one like heckles him. Like like no one heckles us because of
Dude,
that.
that was some serious controversial stuff, man.
Yeah, and then there was, I think, a couple times when I called Maroon 5 the Adam Levine Vanity Project. So that didn't quite go down with a couple fans, I guess, but not too bad.
So that was a great one. I agree to you.
I don't understand it.
I agree to
I know, right? But most of the time it's just either making jokes on myself or some of the band members, like something or the other. So I think we heckle or I roast everyone in the band already, so the audience doesn't have much work left to do.
So, but like of all the shenanigans you do, I'd love to see Meera screaming for a prog rock.
Me screaming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll happen one day. I'll take some lessons from Prote.
Let's try. Can you scream for like growl on one of your songs? Come on, Meera.
Yeah, sure. Ready?
Yeah. Hey, no muting.
Oh man, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Come on, give it a try.
We should do a gig where Meera sings Prote's songs and Prote sings Meera's. I mean, we've had gigs. Actually, we've had gigs where Prote sings like the Meera's songs, right? Like Little House, Impulse, and all. And we left. Meera's turn is left.
Oh gosh.
You owe us.
Meera, I'm not leaving you there. When we'll be discussing about your independent music, I'm going to make you scream there.
You're
Be
gonna
ready.
wish. I'll start.
Good luck,
practicing.
man. I've been trying for 2 years, so good luck.
Hey,
He randomly sends me YouTube videos of like metal, of like screaming, like very like passive aggressively, just like influencing my
passive-
subconscious.
I'm just trying to share good music.
wow, like who's that lady? Angela Gosso, something like that.
I mean, Angela Gosso, or you have the girl from Ginger, Tashiana Shmailo. She does a mean scream. And then there's Arch Nemesis. Well, Arch Nemesis, kya? Alyssa White Blues is the new one. But even otherwise, just encouraging it. Not even like full on death metal growling. Just do the whole aggressive scream thing, Mira. I'm
Yeah.
If when I was
Thank you for your support.
stalking your people, I went through your Instagram profile and I saw a picture with Clinton Sereo, and I was like, "Damn, you met him."
If
I
you
love
scroll
his
further
music.
down, there's a photo with A.R. Rahman too.
See, I didn't want to touch that now because I'll be too sad to continue this podcast then.
Why
Don't
sad?
flex
Why
now.
sad?
Don't flex on the podcast. Like what
I
you're
mean,
talking
look,
about?
agar hai
Clinton,
to
we met
hai.
A.R. Rahman. Yeah, what was it
to
meeting
hai.
these legends?
The moment we sort of learned that we had been selected as part of the Nexa music sort of competition, we were honestly not expecting that at all. Considering the song that they had selected was a song that we had done as part of the Compass Box live sessions called Volition, which is definitely not. I think we were the outliers out of all the different bands that were selected in that top 24. So when we went to Mumbai the first time to record the top 24 song, because we had to re-record some parts for Volition, and we got a chance to meet Clinton sir, and we were working at his studio. We redubbed the vocals and we redid the violin parts, I think, over there. And it was just such a honor to like work with somebody like him, and for him to give us like the feedback and advice like was really cool, because he was just like, one of the first things I remember him saying was that you guys are clearly a bunch of nerds making music, and all of us, and he meant it in the best way possible, and all of us were like, yeah, that sounds like us, because at one point we were like, okay, this song is in G Lydian, oh no, I don't think you're playing that sharp 4 over there, and so and Clinton was just sitting there going, you guys are a bunch of nerds, right? so that was a really, really fun moment. And we recorded the video in Mumbai, and then we got selected as the top 4 super winners. And we go back to Mumbai, and this time we were working on a song together, so Clinton sir was producing this particular song, and we had the opportunity to write lyrics over it, to play the groove around, figure out is this our style or not, because I think that's also one big question we had, was that, okay, since Clinton sir is going to be making this, will he keep in mind our musical eccentricities? And we were so happy when we went and heard that scratch track the first time. We were like, oh my god, this is exactly like, it's got that hook pop factor, and it's got that slightly weird prog / jazz / neo or whatever you want to call it parts too. So that was really humbling, because he knew our sound with that first time that he met us, and he kept on raving about us, which was like, I think all of us over there were so happy, because this guy's like, oh man, you guys are one of the best like bands I've heard coming out of India, and he was a huge fan of Pratyay. Pratyay went in to record his vocals, and he was a huge fan of Pratyay. Every time Pratyay opened his mouth, Clinton was like, oh, that's exactly it. Yeah, and so it was just so nice that all of us just to be like, we're sitting with this legend of a music composer and producer, and he is vibing to our sound, and he is liking all our all our little suggestions and stuff. So that was super humbling, I think.
Hey, you should have gone back to him. So you're also a nerd, right? You should have asked him.
He is. He totally is.
He totally is
a huge jazz head.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
sounds like the one thing which, like, I did not collect it before. But that's one thing common between your sound and his sound also. The chords, the harmony that he chooses, and what way that you guys also do. There is a similarity between what you do and what he does. And a lot of even on
He's
the
a master at that.
yeah, true. Completely agree.
I mean, he knows how to keep things accessible while keeping them interesting. So it appeals to both kinds of crowds. Like non-musician crowds who were just looking for a good tune to vibe to, and musician people who have just figured that out to a T. So that's what we were so happy with, because they struck that perfect balance. We even with the song that we did, "Can't Let You," and it's there. So if for a musician listener, it's like super catchy, and there's this very sing-along melody to the chorus. But then if you actually try to break it down, there's a lot of interesting chords and changes happening down in the keyboards and everything. So yeah, they're amazing at that, what they do. And besides that, they're such warm, welcoming people who just. And we remember on the last day, I think we were in Bombay, like right before we were supposed to record all our parts. He just gave us his studio space. He's like, I'll have my people set up like an electronic drum kit and amps and everything. You guys come jam here as long as you want. So like, wow. So Clinton sir just gave us a studio as a jam room. Okay then. So they're like, he was very, very warm and welcoming. And then even later when we went to collect the whole award thingy, so that was Chirag, I and Pritul went for that. Even there when he met us, like, hey, you said, and we recorded some parts back in Compass Box here. Like we recorded the live drums back in Ahmedabad and sent them. So he met us and like, hey, your parts sound so good and everything. And then he's calling other people and he's like, have you heard their song? That's so good. Like that's so sweet. It's such a sweet, genuine guy.
True, man.
Just very nice experience, I guess.
But that just adds on to how good of a recording quality you have at Compass Box Studios.
Yes. Good segue. Nicely done.
not a segue. I didn't mean to go there, but that's what he meant. Because coming from a guy who's had been the commercial proper forefront where quality matters a lot.
Yeah.
And coming from him, that how good a quality that you guys are producing from Ahmedabad, like what better can you get from anyone? Like it's one of the best. But that coming back to Compass Box Studios, you guys are doing a great job, and for all the independent artists, like show it with pride, man. You guys do it for free for indie bands, or how do you do it?
Yeah. So I just wanted to like talk a little bit about, initially where you were saying that, in the 2 years you've got such a great trajectory. I think, the fact that we have a studio at our disposal kind of helps with having the kind of trajectory that we did. Right from the first live session that we've done in Compass Box to the EP, to the next single and the singles that are coming after that and the EP after that. The role of a studio can't be downplayed in terms of the growth that we've had as Heatsink also, I think, but yeah, for the live sessions that we have on YouTube, it was actually really funny because Meera recently shared one of the posts, like one of the first conversations we had about these live sessions, like last year, I think, on our Instagram. And initially we had this idea of like creating like a Coke studio, but for indie musicians kind of platform. And the studio was there, and so I was like, you know what, why don't we start creating one day live sessions of different indie artists from all over India. I mean, initially it was not from all over India. Initially it was like, who can we find in Ahmedabad? That was the original the initial thing. So we had Meera, who was the first ever live session that we had, some bands from Baroda, and then we had Heatsink, because those were the bands that were there in Ahmedabad. So yeah, we do this completely for free for the artists. All the artist needs to do is like apply to the form that we have on our website.
But I'm very happy to tell you there are a lot of studios from Bombay who try to do this, who are trying to do this, but the way you guys have managed to consistently get out bands and their music out, a lot, like almost every studio, every good studio with some level of great setup has tried to do this, where whenever a band comes for jamming also, they try to shoot it and they try to release it. But the way you guys have done it is something else, man. Like, and kudos to you guys, because it takes effort also. It's not just like you're doing it for free. As there is effort goes behind us as well. And doing that,
it's definitely an intentional, like it's an intentional thing, because when Rag came up with the idea, he's like, yeah, it's a cool idea, but it's not like he just didn't stop there. He's like, okay, I need people to help me. I need musicians to do this. I need a mixing engineer, and like it takes effort from every
Lot of
person to
effort.
like keep it going and keep the energy going.
And
So,
the
but
challenging.
it pays off for us too. Like it pays off for us because we have this kind of like community also now, like that's just like
Exactly.
super tight knit that we can lean on for a lot of things too.
But it will be from a producer perspective, it will be so amazing to listen to all these artists with different genres and different styles and different leanings, and to mix and master their music, and it will somehow help you also, right?
yeah, that's
I think- Yeah.
That's definitely helped us. I mean, the fact that I remember when Pratya came on board to like do all the mixes for all the live sessions. So all the lives, like 95% of all the live sessions, Pratya is mixed. And initially it was like, hey, listen, I'm starting off by doing mixing. And we had just done Malakar's session at that point. And
I think the first we did was Heatsink. The first full
First
band
was
that
Heatsink.
mix was Heatsink.
First was Heatsink, that's right. So for Heatsink session, we were like, okay, fine. And I was originally going to mix that. And Pratya was like, actually, like if you, because it's a lot of work, and like I was really hoping that somebody would come on board to help me with that aspect. And Pratya came right in the right time. And he's like, okay, you know what, let me give this a shot. And it sounded like amazing. And then after that, he just became the de facto like mix engineer for Compass Box. So, and I think for him also, now he's gotten like such a portfolio in a way, right? I mean, that's his mix portfolio. If he wants to tell anybody about his work, he can just be like, okay, Compass Box channel, you can go check out my work. Chirag is there for like almost all the live sessions where we need a second guitarist. He can be like, okay, here's my portfolio of my work. Mira's there as a backing vocalist, and she helps a lot with the coordination of getting artists to Ahmedabad and stuff like that as well. So it started off with just like me and Mira, I remember right in the beginning, and then one by one people came on board, and now we have this community, as she was saying, that and the foundation of Compass Box live session is the people, is Pratya and Chirag and Pratul and Mira, and so this is the group that is helping it sort of work. And now we're doing podcasts as well, so it's slowly taking on different forms as we move ahead.
But say if a band from say Bombay want to contact, who would you say get connected to get on
They
Compass
should
Box?
go to our website. So
Okay.
on our website, we have a form that they can fill out for the live sessions. If they want to contact us for either mixing work or production work, that's separate. We have our email and everything on the website. But we have a form because we were getting a lot of emails, and it was difficult to track who had we responded to, who hadn't we. So we created a form on our website. They just have to fill out that information, and then we go through each submission and then decide based on the submission, okay, let's call them for a live session or not. And we shoot 3 live sessions in one day. And all of them, I know a lot of people like are skeptical, but all of those live sessions are one take live recordings. We're not doing any sort of fancy post.
I had that question.
Yeah, like
I had that
Yeah.
question. Let me be
There
honest.
are
I had that
no
question.
overdubs.
Yeah. All of them are legit one take recordings. In fact, that's why the video is also a continuous single take. There's no cuts in the video if you've seen that, because we wanted to show that this is exactly how we played it as well.
I felt,
So-
as for some ones, I felt like, okay, you recorded it, you shot it in the video, but maybe tracked it in the behind. I
Yeah.
thought that way.
No, all of it is happening.
never.
Wow. But kudos to all the performers.
That's
Yeah,
something
I
we
mean,
do
we
on principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been times where an artist has been like, "Arey, baki theek tha." There has been छोटा सा mistake, can we overdub that? And we have been
Yeah.
like, that's not what we do here. So we're doing the entire take again if you want to do it again,
Yeah.
or we leave the mistake in. Your choice. So it happens. It's like 7, 8, 9, 10 takes of the same thing, and because it's a small team. So it's Rag who's setting up the mics and engineering, and Mira who's coordinating, and then Rag is also playing the bass, and Mira is also singing, and I'm also playing the violin, then going back home and mixing it. So it's the same people doing a bunch of things. So yeah, and then that's 3 times a day. So
Yeah.
it is definitely a challenge for us, but I think, like we were talking, it has helped all of us get very comfortable with playing with whatever is thrown at us.
Yeah.
Because
Whatever
most of the
genre,
times,
whatever. Yeah.
because it's most of the times like we don't really spend a whole lot of time deciding the arrangements. Like some singer-songwriter has sent us their song, so we go through the song and we have some ideas. Yeah, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. Maybe we'll add a drum kit, a bass, and a violin, and we'll do this. And that's about it of what we decide then. Then when they actually come on the day of the recording, so we have them play the song back to us maybe a couple of times. Then we just spend 2 hours on the spot rearranging. Okay, this will be the drum groove. This can be we'll change up some chords here. He'll play a solo here. They'll play a solo. And it's not like we spend a lot of time on the solo. It's just again improv in the take what happens. So yeah, it's like every song is like a 3 to 4 hour process. They play the song, we decide, maybe spend 2 hours rearranging it, set up all the mics, practice the song 2 to 3 times, and then take. So it's very spontaneous. So that way it always keeps us on our toes, like musically also, which I guess that translates to our individual growth as musicians when we play with each sync live, because we've now been accustomed to playing to so many different styles, like on a whim. So I think it helps us grow as musicians, and I think Rag would also agree. It has also opened our own perspective to what is good music per se. Like Absolutely. At a time, maybe we would be very limited within. Okay, this is the genre I like. I'm a rock guy, I'm a jazz guy, I'm a metal guy, and everything else is trash. But since we've started doing this and we've seen people come with so many different compositions in different languages, and they've put their heart into that music, and it's good music. So I think it's opened up our horizons to what good music is.
Good music is good music, irrespective of language, genre, whatever you want to put.
Exactly.
We just crossed 5, and I know Chirag has a class to take.
Chirag, actually, that got cancelled.
Okay, great.
I actually have to go in a bit, but.
Okay,
yeah, but even I have to head out, right?
Yeah.
So, but I have few things to ask before we wrap up this. One is, what's upcoming from you guys? What's coming up?
Yes, who wants to say?
So we're releasing our next single, Judgment, on the 30th, which is like which is next weekend basically, and after that we're planning to start recording, or we have 4 more originals left to record. So we plan to start recording that soon and release maybe on an album.
Any
next year
target that you're looking for, early 2021, mid?
No, I think I think mid 2021. But usually we don't really think about that. We just go with the flow of recording and practicing, composing. So yeah, it just happens is the flow mainly. But yeah, and we're also doing an online gig. We're trying out a first online gig.
Nice.
Right after the launch of the single, the next weekend.
31st.
And on 31st. So we'll see. We're trying out an acoustic set, and based on the response, we'll see if we can try out a full band setup at Compass Box only. So we want to do that, but based on the response, we'll take a call. So but I really want to do that because I don't think for a year at least there'll be a big gig happening, right? For a long time.
Hey,
so
recently in Bombay they did the United We Groove. And it was all an online setup where bands were mostly from some jam room where the sound was done, and it was good. It was amazing, the sound that we as a listener what I could get, and the vibe was great, the energy was great, and they did it more like the talking that the band was doing in between songs. So hey, what do you think? And this is what, and they were joking, they were having fun. It was amazing, that experience.
Yeah.
So if you're considering, I think it will be a great one. And
we're trying to figure out the logistics to pull that off convincingly, because we don't want just a single camera with phone audio in that sense. So we're trying to figure out getting proper mixed high quality stereo audio streaming through Zoom or something. So we have some ideas. We're trying to figure out the logistics of that, and we'll see if it works out well for a acoustic setup. Then we'll move on to getting the full band in and properly doing that, because it's also a lot of work from our side. So we just want to make sure that we do it right and people actually want to turn up and see that. So yeah, so 30th is our single release for a song called Judgment. If you follow our Instagram, you'll see we've posted this beautiful artwork that this lady Ishita made for us, and so we released that, and that's the next single, and 31st we're doing the release show. So I hope you tune in. The tickets for which are on houseconcertsindia.in. So we're doing it in partnership with them. So I hope people turn up. I hope you can join us maybe. We're there.
Yes. And this is the most important thing that I look forward in my podcast is, which is one band or independent artist you guys love hearing.
We all have different names, I guess.
Indie.
Indian indie?
Indian indie. Or you have US indie as well.
No. Like world indie. I'm just asking.
I'm looking for Indian
indie, right?
Indian indie.
Yeah. Can I go first?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go second.
Right now, my current favorite is Sangeeta Bhattacharya and Second Side. Like Sangeeta Bhattacharya is just like, she's awesome. She's just like consistently releasing like very interesting songs and interesting collaborations, and she's just like a beautiful person, I feel like, and she does cool things with her voice. So that's yeah, I really like them. Also Second Side, because same thing. They just take a lot of chances, and they're doing a lot of like same exact reasons, doing a lot of collaborations and like trying. They're just, I think like both of those people just have like their soul in their music, like they bear their soul in their music, and like I admire that. So yeah, both of them.
For me, it's Ape Echoes.
Which one?
Ape Echoes.
Okay.
It's a duo based in Mumbai. Nirmit and Sid, they run this thing, and Sahil Shah is on drums, and they are like everything I love about all the different kinds of genres of music that I love. So, and it's super electronic, which is I typically don't listen to. I don't listen to electronic music almost at all. Ape Echoes is one very big notable exception to that. So Ape Echoes for me, yeah.
Chirag?
For me, I mean, I thought Rag was going to say Thermal Underwater, so I did not want to repeat that.
Thermal Underwater is my old school thing. Like Thermal Underwater is my favorite indie band of all time, but I'm just talking about now.
Yeah, I mean, now that Rag did not mention them, I want to. I want to say that.
And they are amazing.
Yeah, and I also really like the Revisit project. Yeah, really. I mean, I like the instrumental songs. I mean, okay, no, let's not get into that. But yeah, I really like their music, and even Second Sight. I think these three bands are my main. And I mean, it can go on and on. And Ape Echoes.
You can choose one. The whole idea was one name.
If I have a gun to your head and I have to ask you, only give me one name.
Oh God.
Okay.
Thermal Underwater.
Yeah, it will be Thermal.
Take the bullet. Take the bullet.
And the other bands I mentioned. Yeah, I don't know. It's like very difficult to decide, but yeah.
Pratyay.
So again, Thermal Underwater is a big one for me. But I have a couple other bands which I love but aren't really active. So old school Mother Jane was one of my favorite acts of all time.
Wow.
That was one of my favorite acts from India. And then there's this project which they just did one album. It's by this guy Shantanu Pandit in Delhi, and the project was called Run It's the Kid. And they just have one record out. I remember I was playing with our previous band like Random Gyan back in Kutch. It was in 2016 or 17 sometime. And I saw that band play there, and I loved them so much. I just came back home and bought that album immediately. And I've played that album so many times since. I think that's one of my favorite indie records ever. Now it's the Kid. I don't think they're active anymore. But then again, from the current ones, I guess Sangeeta Bhattacharya again is a huge. She's amazing, and her voice is amazing. I really like Small Talk also.
Oh yeah, Small Talk is amazing.
Yeah,
I heard
Small
you
Talk
talk
is
about
good,
them. Yeah.
Like, this is the best part about a
I think
podcast because I get such recommendations, and after every podcast, like every 4 to 5 hours, I'm just listening to songs.
Through the list,
Yeah, it's so good. Like one band, like you said, who's not active anymore. I was talking to Arjun Dhanraj from Nerve Wreck, and he told me about a band called RJD. I went on to look for RJD, and from there I found a band called Tales on Fire. this is happening at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. The band had super, like, the songs were so good. They had the punch, the vocals, the guitars, and they were
What's that?
playing with the sound. Tales on Fire.
What's it
Guys,
called?
sorry, but I have to leave right
Yes,
now,
I'm
so
sorry.
I'm just going to say bye and thanks again, Venkat.
Bye.
So,
Bye, Rag.
Hey,
Hey,
guys.
wait, one
I
second,
also
one second,
wanna-
Rag, one second, Rag. Before you go, I want you all, like, wrap this up. I want you guys to say like, share, and subscribe to my channel.
Yes, absolutely. Like, share,
Like,
and
share,
subscribe, guys.
subscribe to your channel.
Share and
Like,
subscribe to Venky's channel.
like, share,
It was a mess
share,
up.
subscribe,
Like, share,
and like.
subscribe.
Chaos, chaos, chaos.
Okay, anyone wants to go?
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Who also I'd like to mention the Pineapple Express.
Hey, they are superb. I
Excellent.
love it. Hey, if you want
I'm-
to listen to a non-English or a regional band, listen to Urka from Chennai.
Utka.
URKA?
OORK.
Utka.
Urka.
Yes, they're from Chennai. They write in Tamil and beautiful songs.
Thank you for
So
the suggestion. Get up.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to give that another go?
What?
So the like, share, and
Oh,
subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
So should we do it one by one
Do
or
you
all
have
together?
to?
Let's just count down
Okay.
and do it slowly. I
No,
think.
Venkat
together.
counts down. Venkat counts
Yeah.
down, and then we say it.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Like,
Like, share, and subscribe to
subscribe.
this channel.
Venky's channel.
we managed
Did
to
it
do it. We
work?
managed to do it.
Yeah.
there is slight
Alright.
lag on everyone's network, but it was fine for me, so fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. It was super
Thank
fun.
Thank you.
I tried my best to
Thank
not
you
make
so
it like
much.
an interview, like to be a
It was
discussion.
fun.
So thank you guys. I don't want to take a lot of your time. Meera is like checking the time again and again. I can see her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Venkat.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.